All right, today we're excited. I'm excited, I can say, because I have a person on today that I believe is going to really impact you in a big way. I know years and years ago, the lady that's going to be speaking to you today has done some amazing things for me. I remember about 10 years ago, probably, maybe longer than that, 13 years ago or so, I brought her to our office and she came down and it was funny because it was a bunch of men, all men in a training that I brought her to, and she came down and it was funny because she was like short compared to all of us big old guys in the room, and she tore it apart, man. I remember people still remember some of the things that she taught in that training, and a lot of the people that came out of that training, including myself, became 6 and 7 figure income earners by the information that she taught. And I am so grateful, Arvee, for everything you've done. You have no idea. I talk about you virtually every single time I do a PowerPoint. You're in the PowerPoint. So I just want you to know this is an honor to me to be able to share the world with you and share you to the world, because people need to know who you are. They need to know more about who you are, even though you're already world renowned, but everybody needs to know who you are and what you can do for them. So I want everybody to take notes, get your pen out, because I know she's going to give you some pearls of wisdom. She's going to tell you a little bit about her story, where she's been and what she's done. And, she's going to let you know why speaking is so important, why learning how to convey your message to the world is so important for you to be able to, dig yourself out of the situation. There's a lot of people hurting right now, a lot of challenges going on. So please help me welcome Ms. Arvee Robinson. Arvee, it's all you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. It's so fun to be with you. So fun to see you again. You haven't changed a bit.
A little bit. I got a little older.
Yeah, we all did.
All right. So Arvee, this is more about you. This particular segment of the You Can Success Summit is about you. It's about who is Arvee? Tell me a little bit about, and let everybody know what you're about, where you came from, how you got into the business you're in. I know you own a speaking company where you train people how to speak for a living. And I know when we met, you had just kind of got it started, but I don't know how you even got into the business. So just, maybe give people a glimpse back in your life of what were you doing before you started speaking, how you got into the speaking industry, and, the progression of how it turned out now.
I'd be happy to. Well, I didn't start out as a speaker trainer. I didn't plan on being a speaker trainer. My degree is in information systems, and I went to work for a big company by the name of Deloitte back in the 80s, not as a CPA, but as a systems consultant. And my job was to set up financial accounting systems for small companies and teach them how to use them. Now, Stephen, this is when the first computers that were available, there were no hard disks. Right? There's no hard disk. It's not like today. And then when we got 10 megabytes of hard disk, we thought we died and went to heaven. So it was a revolutionary time. And so my boss came to me and said, Arvee, I want you to get out there and start speaking to tell people that we're offering this service. And so I thought to myself, well, I've taken one speech class in college. I knew everything there was to know about public speaking, or so I thought. And doors would go open wide for speakers coming from Deloitte. So it wasn't a problem getting the speaking engagements. But the problem is I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't getting any clients as a result. And I knew that, this couldn't go on very long. And so, but I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And so one day this woman comes up to me after my talk. I see her coming. I'm getting all excited. And she comes up to me and says, honey, do you know that after every sentence you say okay? And I just looked at her, my mouth dropped open, and the only thing I could think of saying back to her was, okay. But I got it that just because I could talk didn't make me a public speaker. So I decided in that moment that I was going to respect public speaking and get trained. And that's what I did. I went and got trained. And the more training I got, the better, not only as a speaker I got, but the better my clients got, the better clients I started attracting, that, just the better opportunities. I used it for upward mobility in my company. It was amazing what happened when you really learn how to speak and become persuasive and a person of influence through speaking. And so I had a 23-year career. with in corporate America as a systems consultant, and I went as high as I could to the very top that I could without being a CPA, and that was a senior manager. And then all of a sudden I felt empty because I wasn't doing the work anymore. I wasn't training. I wasn't trailblazing. Our industry had been full of consultants by then, where I started with as a trailblazer with one software package. And then now the market was full of consultants and packages and everything, of course, after 20 some odd years. So I decided that it was time to make a change, but I didn't know what kind of change to make because that's all I knew. That was my career. So I did what any smart girl would do, Stephen. I prayed about it, and it wasn't long before God gave me the answer. And he said it like this. He said, teach others what I've taught you. And I knew exactly what he meant, and that was public speaking. So Stephen, that was 17 years ago. This coming fall, I will have celebrated my 17th year in business, where I've trained over 5,000 business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, you name it, and given over 3,500 speeches all over the world. And I don't say that to brag or impress anybody, but just to impress upon people that anybody can learn how to speak. There's no such thing as a natural born speaker, right? Because if you were a natural born dancer or singer, the first thing you would do is get into training, get into classes. And that's what you need to do if you do think you're a little natural born speaker. But otherwise, it's mostly just trained speakers. So I've been on a mission to train as many speakers as I can and get them ready for what's to come in our future. And recently, I've been teaching people how to speak virtually because of what's happened, how to pivot not only your business, but how to pivot your speaking into the virtual world, into this box, how to get off the stage and get into a box and speak out of the box, even though you're in the box. So that's what I've been doing in the past several months. And, people are just, hungry for it, and they need it because they just don't know how to adapt as a speaker or as a business speaker in this kind of environment.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, things did change. So because of that, you had to adjust. And, you said something that you said that people are not natural born speakers.
Right.
So what are they, alien? How are they born? Are they hatched or what have they? No, they're naturally born.
They're not naturally born a speaker because
got it. So in other words, there's no doctor that came out and said, wow, that's going to be a top salesperson right there. No one's ever done that.
No. They think just because they could flap their jaw that they don't need any speaker training. But the better you are at speaking, the even more you need speaker training to get even better and to really, just go and be the best and the most powerful. Just like you, Stephen, you're always training. You're always coming to my events and learning more, even though you've been to my speaker training and everything else. You have to stay current like any other industry. Well, public speaking has changed over the years. And not only has it changed recently where we're going virtual, but it's just changed over the years, just like any other industry, whether it's finance, whether it's law, whatever it is. All of our industries have changed over the years, and so has public speaking.
Sure. Well, Arvee, you are confident now. It's obvious. But when you first started, were you confident back then? I mean, were you confident and up there just killing it, or did you have to go through a fear state that you had to overcome?
Well, I was fearful, but I was really ignorant, I would say. And that's what most non-trained speakers are. Just like I said, okay. Well, there was one time when I was in corporate America and I was speaking on a stage in front of 200-300 men, mostly men, because that's what was in the industry back then, in the software industry. And I was talking about a particular software that I recommended and used. And there was two other people with me, two other men on speakers talking about their preferred software. And so not knowing any better, I had written out my entire speech. And as I'm going along talking about the features and all about why they should be selecting this particular software that I'm representing, I lost my place. So I flipped through the papers and looked up and had that deer in the headlights look. And I just went, thank you. And I practically ran off stage. Now, I didn't get any business that day. I didn't get any clients. Nobody came and talked to me because they were embarrassed for me. So it's so important for you to step on that stage as a trained speaker because you never know what's going to happen. And back then I didn't know that I needed to become my speech. And now I teach people you need to practice for 1 hour for every 2 minutes of speech. Then you become it, and then you won't need notes. You won't forget it. If something happens to you on stage, you won't get thrown off guard, and you'll never have to worry about having egg on your face or deer in the headlights look ever again.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So you've had some challenges, and I know that's what happens a lot of times. People want to get into speaking for themselves or get into speaking themselves, and they're afraid. They just think that everybody's looking at them, and they're going to be laughing at them, and they're going to think that they got to be perfect. And nobody's perfect. There's only been one man that's ever walked the face of this earth who's ever been perfect, and we're not him. So because of that, there's no need to worry about that, right? All we need to do is go out there and do it. Is that what you're saying? Just go do it.
Well, what they're worrying about is themselves. And instead of worrying about the audience and what their message can do to their audience, because everybody's message has the ability to change lives, save businesses, or even save somebody's soul. And all of us have that our own unique message that only we can deliver to people that can only hear it from us. So if you think of it like that, that's your duty to get your message out there, then, and it's not about you, it's about them. Just one person in the audience hears it. You could change their lives. Let me give you an example. And not everybody will tell you. You know, you'll be changing lives, and Stephen, you may never even know it. But there was this time just last year, and I was driving to a speaking engagement that I spoke at the year before. It was a book expo, and I was driving there, and I was promised 20 minutes. And as I was driving there, I get a text that says, you only get 10 minutes. And in that moment, I have to tell you, I had to do some soul searching, because in that moment, I was like, it was a Saturday, and I'm like thinking, you know what? I don't really need the practice. I don't really need to practice speaking. You know, they need me probably more than I need them. Shame on me, right? And so, but I, God just told me, just go. It'll be worth your while. So I drove, and I got there. And we were standing around because it was a book expo, and I'd been there before. I knew what to expect. And that was, they don't really have a large audience. The audience are the vendors that are in the book show. So I'm there, and I'm there all day, and I'm gracious, and I'm going to all the vendors, and I'm buying stuff and just being a great attendee. And then it comes time for me to speak, and I'm not going to speak till 2:00 in the afternoon. And this is 9 in the morning. So 2:00 in the afternoon came, and they were having 30-minute breaks so that everybody could go see the vendors. Well, by the time 2:00 came, all the vendors had visited the vendors 5 and 6 times, right? So I just said to the host, I said, maybe we could cut this break a little shorter, like to 20 minutes, and then you can give me my 10 minutes back. And she said, yeah, that's a great idea. Again, I just was gracious and asked. And then she said yes, and then that was history. So I got up, did my 20-minute speech, and I got off the stage. That's when the magic happened. This young woman came up to me, and she said that she saw me the year before, and she bought my book, Speak Up, Get Clients. And she gave the book to her father, who has dementia. And her father was so moved by that book that it gave him encouragement that he too could step out on stage and speak about dementia. But he lost his book, she said, and he was so devastated. So I said, of course, here, take a book. Here's one for you and one for your dad. I said, but do me a favor. When you give it to him, would you just film it, on your phone and send it to me? And she did. And he was just so overwhelmed with joy. And then later, a couple weeks later, I got to meet him. They came to an event I was hosting. And it's like moments like that, Stephen, that make it worthwhile, no matter how hard it took you to get there, no matter how expensive it was to get the training, no matter how far you drove or what you had to wear to in clothes, or what equipment you need. It is worth it. When you get a story like that, it is worth every single penny and time that you've ever spent or invested in yourself.
Wow. Wow. What a great story. And yeah, I know what it feels like to be able to impact people. And And I can imagine, you know, how you felt when you hear this guy who has dementia that now just because something you said, because of the words that came out of your mouth, that came out of your heart, made that big of an impact on someone you didn't even meet. That's
Right.
awesome. That is awesome, Arvee. And I'm sure you've impacted millions of people around the world by now. Millions.
Right.
As a matter of fact, go ahead.
I
You're
was
gonna say
just,
something?
I was just going to say yes, but the key is that, and we all do, but we don't always get that opportunity for someone to come to us and tell us that we
Yeah.
made an impact in their life and somebody else's.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
most
because you're
important.
impacting people that are watching this right now that we don't know these people, but
That's
they're
right.
being impacted. They might take that one story and say, "Wow, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it."
Right. And
And
you
you
can,
know, and that's the key right there. That's the
that's
key, and that's what we're trying to get. One person. There might be a million people watching this right now, but one person. If that one person changes, that one person has a ripple effect and can change thousands of lives from one person. And I
that's
know that's what you've done for me. See, so
oh,
yeah, what you did for me, you have no idea, Arvee. I mean, how shy and insecure I was at the time when we met, as far as speaking to people and stuff like that. I was good at what I did one on one, but in a group, that wasn't my strength. You taught it to me, and I've
yeah,
talked to and spoke to thousands upon thousands all over the world because of
right.
you. You
Well,
made that impact.
I want to just say something about that time we met because I was speaking at an event at a breakout. That was my first speaking engagement ever. It was about 16, 17 years ago. And I had to pay for that speaking engagement. That was before this whole pay to play thing has been
Mm.
coming out here. But back then, I mean, I didn't understand. It's like, what? You want me to pay to speak? Okay, well, what? And then you have to give them 50% of your sales anyway. But it was the opportunity that broke me out into the business, and I got other speaking engagements from it. But here's the key. We had a little booth, and you came into the room, and I had this homemade CD that I was selling for 20 bucks. And I'll never forget the look I mean, you bought it as if it was a treasure. You know, the look on your face, you couldn't wait to listen to it. And, you know, it was, you know, I did it on the Stomper. I don't think they have it anymore, but you know, back then people did more homemade stuff, and now, of course, they don't do that stuff. But it was so precious, the look on your face, and you know that it was just gold. You know, it was gold wrapped in burlap. You know.
Yeah, and I didn't know it was gold at the time. I just thought it
Yeah,
was a piece of copper, but
that's right.
it was more than gold. It was worth more than gold.
Thank you. I wonder
So
if you still have that. Do you still have that?
I probably do. I probably do, but I've moved a few times since then, so it's probably in a crate somewhere. But I keep all my CDs and tapes and books and stuff. You know what? I was just thinking about this. I know you spoke all over the world, and I remember you were telling the time that you spoke over in Egypt or somewhere over there. You had something happened over there that was interesting. Can you tell that story so people can hear what happened when you went out there? Because I remember it was impacted. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Absolutely. I had several, but one of my most popular stories is the camel story. And so that is, there is I was there because I was speaking and mentoring at the Christopher Howard Billionaire Adventure Club. He's a big NLP guy. And so there were people from all over the world. And they, again, this was a good, I don't know, quite over 10 years ago. And they were, you know, they paid over 10 grand to be there. And so there were 19 of us mentors, and there was over 100 people from all over the world, Hong Kong, Australia, you name it. And so a small group of us decided, it was about 8 days, and then a group of us decided we were going to stay for a post trip, about 20, 25 people. And so one of the activities on the post trip was to go up to Mount Sinai and see the sunrise. Now, 2,000 people a day do that. 2,000 people scurry up that mountain to see the sunrise. Well, there's two ways to get up there. One way is to walk, and the other way, it's like a stone mountain. It's all rocks. And so they carved out stairs right in the middle of it. So you can walk up 3,750 steps, or you can ride a camel. Now, mind you, we're going to see the sunrise, so it's pitch black. So I decided I was going to ride the camel. And the camels are owned by the native cave dwellers. They're called Bedouins, and it's Quin or something like that, Bedouins. And so they own the camels, and one of them is pitch black, and we are getting into this area. It's where St. Catherine's Monastery is. That's where everybody meets the people and the camels and all that. So this guy puts me on his camel, and the camel stands up, feet first, hind feet first. My entire body goes into the sand. Then the camel stands up, and I'm 13 feet in the air, holding on for dear life. They have saddles, right? Holding on for dear life. Then we go up the mountain, up, and it takes over an hour, right, to get up there. Well, we met them about 2:30, and sunrise is around 5:30, so maybe it was a little bit longer. And it just took a long time. And so my camel starts to go like this in the road, in front of me. And as we got higher, like an hour or so in, we're pretty high, and I'm looking on the side of the mountain thinking, oh my God, right, we're gonna fall off. And so all of a sudden, I don't know, fear welled up inside of me, and I just heard myself scream, "Oh my God!" Right? And so the Bedouin walking next to us, next to his camel, says, "Madam, don't worry. The camel knows the way." And so I stopped and thought about it for a minute. I thought, that's right. It's not the camel's first time. It's my first time. So I was able to relax, let the camel lead me the way. And then there's about 40 minutes you have to walk up the rest of the way. But I let the camel lead me up the way. Then we got up to the top, still pitch black. We're standing on boulders like Rocky, right? A whole bunch of us, 2,000 of us, all along the mountains. And then all of a sudden we saw the sunrise from the horizon. And then the Bedouins started singing in a cappella. People started cheering. I'm there like Rocky going, woo, woo. And in that moment, I felt closer to God than I've ever felt in my life. I mean, physically, mentally, spiritually, everything right there on top of that spiritual special place, right? Sacred place. And if I had let fear stop me, which it almost did, I wouldn't have had that feeling, nor would I have this great story to tell.
Right. Wow. So the big takeaway from that story is that, if you have someone leading you the way, follow and trust. You kind of have to have the trust in the mentor, the guy that was leading the camel. You also had to have the trust in the camel, in the vehicle that was going to take you to where you wanted to go.
Right. And just know that they had a system, right? They had a system for going up that mountain. Trust the system. You'll get proven results. And trust your leader. Trust your mentor. Trust your coach. It's not their first rodeo.
Yeah.
They've been up and down that mountain a long time, a lot more than you ever will. So
yeah, and that's why having a coach is so important. That's why because they know the way, and we're trying to get where they can take us, but we have to have that trust in the coach and the person that can walk us to that destination. That's awesome. That's a great story. I love that story. Yeah, and I visualize it. I visualize being on the edge of the mountain. Knowing me, I probably would have panicked and went back down. I'm a big chicken heights. But yeah, fear can definitely stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of things came out in that Egypt trip. For me, fear of, claustrophobia, heights, you name it. It was a breakthrough experience.
How did overcoming those fears propel your business? How did you transition those fears, realizing you overcame those fears, and then how did you transition that into being successful in your business?
Well, it's amazing. It's kind of like, and it's a little bit of a cliche, but it's like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Mm-hmm. Feel the fear and do it anyway. I have had to do that a lot in my business, and to get the growth that I wanted or that I needed. And even now, I mean, I am getting ready, to do a big 3-day virtual event, and it's a little scary, and I have to just keep going every step, closer and closer and closer. And then one day it's going to be the day, and it's all going to be done. And then I can just go and do what I do best.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you just do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
You do what you fear most, and you control fear.
Yeah, you just kind of recognize it and go, okay, I feel you. I know you're here. I'm going to bring you along with me.
There you go. That's a great advice. That's great advice. I want to ask you a couple more questions here. One is about success. Let's talk about some success stories, maybe that you've had personally. Do you have one success story that you'd like to share, maybe that you've accomplished by speaking? So you spoke and this happened because of it.
Ooh, boy, there is so many. I have more client success stories, But let me think. I mean, I've had so many just like that very first time I spoke, and then I got some speaking engagements. It's like whenever you think you're not going to, you're going to speak and nothing's going to happen, something will happen. You will either get speaking engagements or you'll get clients or opportunities. So I would say one of the successes that I'd like to talk about for me personally is when I spoke on the cruise ships. And it gave me an opportunity to travel for free. It gave me an experience that I'll never experience. I spoke 4 times on the cruise ship, so I had to come up with 4 different speeches that were unrelated to my business. Think about it. They don't want you to do a sales pitch. So if you're a financial advisor, you cannot talk about finances or money. So I couldn't talk about public speaking directly. But so what I did is I went to the Amazon, the books, the best-selling list. And I picked 4 topics of books that were the best sellers that had something to do with speaking. So I picked Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages. Now, remember, it's a cruise ship. I was going to go to I went to the Mediterranean cruise where I got to go to Greece. I got to go to see Pompeii. I got to see island of Capri, on and on. Now, the longer the cruise, the more that there's couples. And I knew that, I did my research. So if it's a 3-day Ensenada, Mexico cruise, it's just going to be a party cruise of a bunch of singles. But if it's 9 or 9 days or more, it's going to be couples for the most part. There probably wasn't any single people there, but me. I was the only one that was by myself. So I knew there was going to be couples. So I got Gary Chapman's Love Language book, which I just adore, and talked about that and taught about it. I got Crucial Conversations, which is another book. It's about, conversations in the workplace. I did networking, how to network and make lifelong friends on the ship, right? I related it to the ship. And then I talked about feng shui, how to feng shui your cabin so that you will get great relationships and make money while you're cruising. So I just really tried to apply it to the cruise. But think about it. I had to come up with 4 new, and we got 55 minutes each to talk. So I had to come up with 4 new talks that were so, outside of even my comfort zone, much less my normal topic, my normal signature talk. So that's a big success, I would say, is to do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that would be tough. That would be tough for anybody to come up with 4 unrelated topics, because not only do you have to deliver the message, you got to act confident about what you're talking about, even if you don't know anything about it.
Well, and I had to read 4 books like really fast.
So you had to take a speed reading class too to make it happen. Awesome. Well, what about this? How about some students? Because I'm sure you have thousands of students around the world. Tell me maybe 1 or 2 stories about a student that may have not had the skill set of speaking, maybe didn't believe in themselves, didn't have the confidence, maybe didn't even have the money, but they made a decision to do it, hire you as a coach, and then where are they at now? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, I'd be happy to. I'll tell you, I'll share 2 of them with you. So one of them is Hector, and Hector was a photographer. He's not a photographer anymore, but he had a successful business already. But his dream was to be a sales trainer and teach the Hispanic market in Spanish and help elevate their standard of living, their lifestyle. And so he originally went out. He thought he could just speak because he could flap his jaw like a lot of people do. And he failed miserably. And he kept trying it, no success. So he came to me, went through my speaker training. And next time he went out to speak, he went blah, 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 poof, $4,500. Now, fast forward years later, he has been not only speaking, but he's been given his own seminars where he gets hundreds and hundreds of people. He's written a couple of books on success principles, the book in Spanish. You can find him on Facebook. His last name is Gonzalez, Hector Gonzalez. But more importantly, he has made a difference in the lives of his people. He has raised their income. He's raised their style of living, their standard of living, their lifestyle. He has made a huge difference and continues to make the difference. And I don't know of any other sales trainer out there speaking in Spanish to a niche market like that, but he is. And, you know, he's probably close to 7 figures now.
Wow. Well, one of the things you always say is that, you know, everyone has a message, has a story in them, has a message that someone needs to hear.
Amen.
And that's what you did. That's what you gave him, and it gave him the ability to just release what was already inside of him. And now he's impacting the world because of it.
Right. So let me tell you about Angela, because that's a little different. Angela had a story about turning grief into power, pain into power. As you know, something had happened, or 2 of her boys died, and it's a whole story based on that. And when I would see her at some events, you know, around town and listen to her story, and she just didn't seem connected. I'm like, wait a minute, how do you feel about that? It seemed like she was disconnected and just not feeling it, just whatever. And so, you know, I told her about my mastermind and my training. She joined it. And then next time she spoke, we got her reconnected. She was so disconnected that she used to call herself a different name. You know, like she had another person. I won't say what the name is. It's probably personal, but she would, instead of her name, she'd go, okay, Mary, let's go, right? She had this other person. We had to kill that other person, right? And integrate her to herself to get her connected. So I did that. And then she spoke on one of my stages, because people that go through my mastermind get to speak at my big event, either 5 minutes or 15, depending on how much time, you know, which program they entered. And so she was on the stage for about 15 minutes, and talk about association, right? Benefit of association. And I had, just before that, I had one of my dear friends. I had 5 people on the panel. I think you were one of them. Weren't you on that panel one time? Yeah. I don't know if it was this time, but I think you were on that panel yourself. And so we had 5 of you men right on the panel. And one of them was Evan Money, who is a producer, who's one of my dear friends. Were you on that panel?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Awesome. And so afterwards, everybody was hanging around a little bit, and Angela went up to Evan, and Evan loved her story and asked to produce her story. I mean, she was so connected. She stepped up and went to him to hand him a pamphlet, because he had a bunch of people around him, because he's a producer, as you can imagine. And he stopped and said, let's talk. I think I want to produce I want to make a documentary. Now, I can't promise my students a movie, but she had her movie made, and I went to the what do you call it, the
preview
of the debut. Yeah,
debut
of the film, and of course Evan was there, the director was there, she was there on stage. It was a dress-up affair and formals and everything, and it was just beautiful and lovely. And so to this day now, she has that that movie, that CD of her life and of her movie. And it was very well done. It wasn't talking heads. It was so well done. So anyway, and today I just saw her. She's still speaking. She spoke at one of my events recently, and she just continues to speak at bigger and bigger events.
Wow, that's amazing, because you never know who's in the audience. You don't know who you're speaking to.
You never know.
You don't know what that next person that's going to find you and say, I want you in that audience. So that's why speaking as often as you can, even if it's for free. I know for many years I had to speak for free, and I did. Well, I speak a lot of times for free, because you never know who's going to hear your message, give you that call, and that could be that next big break.
Right.
The people that do the most work get the luckiest. It's interesting how that works, huh?
Yes. Well, I would say, I mean, the local speaking for free model is how people start out. But guess what? After it's free, then it's fee, because I don't mean you get paid. I mean, if you want to go up in the seminar industry, it's sponsorships that you need to invest in to get the kind of audience to look at you. That's one of the fastest ways you can grow. I did it the slow way, because we didn't have that back then. So I put on my own events and invited speakers and that kind of thing to speak. But nowadays you can kind of go up a lot quicker just by investing some money into sponsorships.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to learn more about that myself. So that's good. That's a new teaching there for me. Okay. Good. Good. Well, let me ask you another question. Here's a big one because this situation that's gone on in the world has hurt a lot of people. There's a lot of people out of work. There's a lot of
Right.
people that are struggling. A lot of people right now that worked the job for 20 years and they thought they had security and now they don't. A lot of people that thought they're right for retirement, thinking they're going to get that gold ring, and now they're at home and they're
Right.
looking at this and they're like, "What do I do? How do I convey my message? Do I have a story?" And so the question is, this is a big one for you. Let's say you lost everything. Let's say right now, all your money got wiped out, all your bank account, your 401k turned into a 101k, and you didn't have any cash. You had $300 in your bank account, but you still had your skills. You still had your skills that you have now, but you had no money, no resource, no credit, no nothing. What would you do for the next 30 days if you wanted to get back on track, put money in the bank account, get your business going? What would you do?
Okay, good question. So, but first, I just want to say to those people that you described that maybe lost their job or they're trying to work from home or they're struggling or they're depressed, I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that happened to you, but there is hope. And I want to share what I would do, and then I want to circle back around and share what you could do because this is not a hopeless situation. So if it was me and everything is wiped out, and and it can happen to any of us. It can just any of us. Something could happen. So I want to acknowledge that. I would number one, I would jump on the internet. I still have my speaking skills, and I did that. I would adapt, pivot as much as I can. First, I'd probably meditate and be quiet and go into prayer and see what the vision is for me and for my life, and it is long. I'm going to assume that technology is still working, that my phone is still working, and that I can do some webinars and get people that I still have my list. And again, it's if you haven't built up your list, you need to do that. It's like storing food away for a rainy day or having some money tucked away for a rainy day. You never know what's going to happen. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself. They say that we need 1 year supply of food for each person in the family. I don't know if you're doing that, but make sure you are. Make sure you have money saved. Make sure you're building your database. And so you can withstand time, because that's what we have to do. Now I'm storing up toilet paper. Okay. I'm not hoarding it, but I'm just buying a little extra for a rainy day. All right. But anyway, getting back to my business. So what I would do is I would send out an email. And I want to say, Stephen, I did this. When this first happened, I pivoted immediately. So I talked about it. I talked about it with my mentor. I thought about it. And what I did is immediately send out an email. I put on a webinar to a mini series called Virtual Presentation Mastery. And it was all about Zoom etiquette, how to speak virtually. And then what I did is I sold a course, which was a 3 combo course, which I just dropped the price, crazy price. It was Zoom Mastery, 3 hours of Zoom Mastery training, 3 hours of Facebook live training, and 3 hours of how to be a mind-blowing virtual speaker in the virtual stage. And I usually, each one of those sell for $200, so usually $600 minimum. I sold them all for $197. You see, if you want to make money at a time like this, especially in the virtual world, you have to add a lot of value and drop the price to a crazy price. And take in consideration, you don't have to go anywhere. There's a price for not having to leave and get on a plane or get in a car or even dress, from the waist down. I got my flip-flops on right now and I don't have to wear high heels. So there's a price for that, so you can offer it for less. But you've got to be creative, and that's what I was. That's what I did immediately. And it happened before anybody could see what was happening. My first webinar that I did that on, I had 80 people. Now, usually I struggled to get 50 on there, right? A lot of, but boom, they're all interested, right? Because I was like the first to get it done. And now, of course, a lot of people have caught on and they're doing it too. But you got to act fast. Number one advice, you've got to act fast. You've got to pivot. You've got to give people what they want and need, and you've got to drop the price. So those 4 things, and you will survive. And then do it again. Do it all over again. That's number 5. Do it again. Repeat.
Do it again. Duplicate yourself. Because if you get a proven formula, why not just keep doing the same thing multiple ways, multiple times, to multiple markets?
And I'm all about formulas and systems.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Definitely. That's awesome. That's great advice. Great advice. You said something about building a list. It's so important to build a list. You've been talking about that even to me for years, and I was hard-headed for a few of those years, and I didn't, and I struggled. And then now that I built one, you're right. Your money is in the list. If time goes out and everything goes down, but you still got your list, you still have the ability to generate money. That's your storage of your food in the bank right there.
That's right.
Exactly. That's awesome. Awesome. So last question I have for you. Let's say 3 tips. 3, I know you've given a lot already. You've given a lot of meat. I know you have this sandwich. I don't remember how that works either, but you've given a lot of meat. But if you have 3 tips that you wanted to give people specifically so they can win big the rest of this year and beyond, what 3 specific tips would you give?
All right. So before I give the tips, I just want to address the sandwich in case somebody's saying, what is he talking about, a sandwich? All right. So okay. what I teach, I have a system for speaking, a proven system, but to make it simple for people, I tell them it's like having a sandwich. The top piece is rapport, and there's 5 steps. The bottom piece is the close, and inside there's the middle, the mayonnaise, the lettuce, etc. So if you think of a speech like that, then you can create it a lot better and a lot fuller. Most people try to have an open-faced sandwich where they have too much information, or they don't have a close, and then the sandwich falls apart. So that's just kind of the basic system, basic structure. But the 3 things that I would recommend is, as far as speaking, is number 1, get trained. Don't try to wing it, because you have to stay current. Speaking has changed, and where it's going is more of a naked authenticity, which means people want you to be real. They want not just authentic, but they want you to be real. Tell us who you really are. Let us see into your soul. What do you believe in? What do you not believe in? Because if you're a person that has different values than your audience, then they're not going to be attracted to you. So you have to show them your values. And then those that are attracted to those values will be attracted to you like a magnet. And that's what you want. You want those kind of clients that love you, believe in you, want to stay with you forever and ever and ever. That takes like-minded core values. So that's number 1. Number 2 is make sure, so get trained and part of that training is being real. The second one is use stories. And if you're not trained as a professional storyteller, you might need some storytelling training, because stories act as invisible selling. Stories suspend time. Stories open the hearts of your listeners. And I believe there's a direct link between your heart and your pocketbook, and there's a little string that gets your pocketbook to go up and down. And then number 3, consistency. If you're going to speak, once you've learned how to speak, now you've learned how to be a great storyteller. Now it's getting out there and speaking consistently. Public speaking works only when you do it every single week. It doesn't work when you do it once in a while, once in a blue moon, once every 6 months. You're not going to get any traction. You're not going to get any fitness. You're going to be rusty in a heartbeat. So all the investment that you made in your training, you're going to forget. So speaking, building that speaking muscle is just like working out at the gym. You have to continuously work out if you want to keep your muscles nice and firm. 2 weeks of not working out and you lose your fitness. And then it's harder to get back in there again. So pick a place to speak every single week. And it can be virtually right now. You can speak on webinars. You can speak in Zoom meetings, at networking meetings. You can do Facebook Lives or YouTube Lives or LinkedIn Lives, Twitter Lives. There's a lot of live streaming that you can do. You can create your own online event your own virtual event. You can create your own online products that you speak to. It's like a 6-week course that's recorded. There's many, many places that you could speak. You could create your own podcast and speak there every week and then invite other people to speak. So there's no limit. We're living in a country where we still have abundance and we still have freedoms. And my recommendation is use them before you lose them.
Wow, great points there, Arvee. You know, definitely being trained is so important and being authentic. You know, that's why I wanted to do this type of event where they can hear you. You know, because I know when you're on that stage, you're doing your thing, you know, making it happen. You got your presentation down. But I knew here you just open up and just be Arvee, and that's what I wanted people to see. Because I know Arvee. I've been to your house. I know Arvee, but everyone else doesn't know Arvee. So that's what I wanted people to see was you. And you know, if everybody that's watching this right now, if you resonate with Arvee and you think she could help you in learning how to speak, if that's a goal of yours, or if you know you have a message inside, which you all do, I would recommend go to our website and definitely look her up. Her name and phone number, email, website, everything is there. You know, you go connect with her, and I strongly recommend it. She is one I absolutely endorse to anyone worldwide that wants to get better at speaking. Go talk to Arvee. She's the person who helped me personally generate 7 figures in income personally, and she's helped thousands upon thousands of other people do the same exact thing. And I know this, she can absolutely help you too. So Arvee, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Stephen.
This has been too long. It's been too long for this to happen. This should have happened a long time ago, but you know what? Timing's everything. This is the right time.
Timing's everything. Thank you, Stephen.
All right, well, thank you. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.